Hello guys, in this video we are going to discuss Java standard naming conventions which we will follow as best practices. We should follow these naming conventions in day-to-day project work. Alright, this is the article I have written and published on my website, and I will be providing a link of this article in a video description so that anytime you can have a look into it. Okay. Java naming conventions are sort of guidelines that application programmers expected to follow to produce a consistent and readable code throughout the application. We are going to discuss naming conventions for packages, classes, interfaces, methods, variables, constants, abstract classes, exception classes, enumeration, generic types, and annotations. Let's start with the naming conventions for packages. A package should be named in a lower characters. There should be only one English word after each dot. For example, look at here, I have taken a package names from popular frameworks for Spring and Hibernate, and Spring uses packaging naming conventions like this. A package name should be in a lower case characters, and there should be only one word after each dot. Okay, and the package name should begin with the top domain names, for example com, net, org. Okay, so these are the top level domain names. So remember, a package should be named in a lowercase characters. There should be only one word after each dot, and the package name begins with one of the top level domain names, for example org, net, com. Okay, let us discuss the naming conventions for classes. Class name should be nouns in upper camel case. If there are multiple words, then first letter of each internal word is capitalized. Try to keep your class name simple and descriptive. For example, employer, student, employee, DAO, company, services. So these are the classes, and first letter of a class name is capitalized. Look at here. And if there are multiple words in a class name, then first letter of each internal word is capitalized. For example, employee, DAO, company, service. And you can also create class names like customer service, customer DAO, IMPL. Okay, remember, whenever you have multiple words in a class name, then first letter of each internal word is capitalized. For example, DAO, service. Okay, here are the few real world examples. These are the class name I took from the Java core packages: string, color, button, system. And the Oracle uses naming conventions for classes like this. Alright, let us discuss the naming conventions for interfaces. In Java, interface names generally should be adjectives. Interface should be in a title case with the first letter of each separate word capitalized. Interface names generally should be adjectives, for example runnable, appendable, readable, comparable, clonable. Alright, and we can create interfaces like printable, printable and comparator, etc. So remember, interface names should be adjectives, and interfaces should be in a title case with the first letter of each separate word should be capitalized. For example, if there are two words in interface name, for example action listener, then first letter of each internal word is capitalized like this. Okay, auto, closable, char sequence, the first letter of internal word is capitalized here. Char sequence, S is capitalized. Okay, let us discuss the naming conventions for methods. Methods always should be verbs. They represent action, and the method name should clearly state the action they perform. The method name can be single or 2 to 3 words as needed to clearly represent the action. Words should be in a camel case notation. For example, get customer, save customer, get customer, delete customer. Alright, so method names always should be verbs, and they represent some action, and the first letter of the method is lowercase. Okay, and few more examples like get name, compute total width, action performed. So these are the few examples, real world examples I took from the Java code packages. Main method. Alright, so remember, methods should be verbs, and they are in a camel case notation. Let us discuss the naming conventions for variables. Variable name should start with a lowercase character. Parameter names, member variable names, and local variable names should be written in a lower camel case. Alright, the variable name should start with a lowercase letter. For example, first name, order number, last name, phone number, etc. So unlike method names always start with a lowercase character, like get customers, save customers, and get customer, delete customer. Variables names also start with a lowercase character. Alright, first name, order number, etc. Great. Let us discuss the naming conventions for constants. Constants variable name should be written in upper characters separated by underscore. The names should be semantically complete and clear. For example, red, yellow, max underscore priority, max underscore stock underscore count. Alright, so whenever you define constants, then constant name should be written in upper characters separated by underscore. For example, max under priority. Let us discuss the naming conventions for abstract classes. I observed in many standard libraries, naming conventions used for abstract classes is the class name must start with the abstract or base prefix. The naming conventions can vary from organization to organization. For example, abstract Hibernate DAO. This is the abstract class, and the class name must start with the abstract prefix. For example, abstract Hibernate DAO, and this class name begins with abstract prefix here. Similarly, abstract common DAO, abstract base. Okay, so I referred Hibernate and Swing frameworks. They have provided naming convention for abstract classes like this. Abstract classes must start with abstract or base prefix like this. And in a Spring framework, they have used naming conventions like this: abstract bin definition, abstract URL base view. Alright, and I encourage you guys to use this kind of naming convention whenever you create abstract classes in your project. Great. Now let us discuss a naming convention for exception classes. I observed in many standard libraries, the naming conventions used for custom exception classes is class name must ends with the exception prefix. So probably you have seen that in a standard Java libraries, the exception names should end with the exception word. For example, arithmetic exception, array index outbounds exception, class not found exception. Alright, and few more exceptions like transaction exception, display data exception. So whenever you create a custom exception, then you can use this kind of naming conventions, like class name must end with the exception suffix. Okay, for example, if I create exception like resource not found exception, if there is a resource not exist in a database, then I can create a custom exceptions like resource not found exception. Then the class name must end with the exception prefix like this. And if there is a resource already exist exception, here I can create a custom exception name as resource already exist exception, and here you can see I have provided exception suffix to this custom exception. Alright, so this is how you can also use the naming conventions for custom exceptions. Okay, great. So let us see the naming conventions for enums. So enum constant members should be spelled out in uppercase words separated by underlines. Example, here is a day is the enum, and it has members like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and these members are defined in uppercase words, uppercase letter. Okay, and let us see the naming conventions for generic types. Generic type parameter names should be uppercase single letters. The letter T for a type is typically recommended. In JDK classes, E is used for collection elements, S is used for service loaders, and K and V are used for map keys and values. For example, this is the map interface, and K means key and V means values. And here list is the interface, generic interface, and E is the generic type and is meant for type. E is meant for element, and iterator is also E is there, so E is meant for elements, alright, collection elements. And if there is a T, then T is meant for type and it is recommended. Okay, so remember, generic type parameters should be uppercase single letters like K, V, E, etc. Alright, so let us discuss the naming conventions for annotations. Annotations names follow title case notation. They can be adjective, verb, or noun based on the requirements. For example, functional interface. So this is the annotation introduced in Java 8. So we can use this annotation to define a custom functional interface. And look at here the naming convention for annotation. They can be adjective, verb, or noun based on the requirement. And these are the few annotations I took from the Java core packages, and here they have used the naming conventions like this. So you can take a reference of these annotations. Alright, remember, annotation names follow title case notations like this. If there are multiple words in annotation name, then post letter of each internal word is capitalized. For example, functional interface, I is capitalized here. Okay, great. So these are the standard naming conventions we should follow while working in a day-to-day project work. And these Java naming conventions are sort of guidelines that application programmers are expected to follow to produce a consistent and readable code throughout the application. Alright, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.